He's gay.
I got a body count? I'll be down there in a bit. Keep the press up. What are you doing?
I just wanted to cuddle.
Cuddle? What a fag.
On April 6, 1895, the Irish novelist Oscar Wilde was arrested for sodomy and gross indecency. Over the next few months, all the sordid details of his private life were revealed. Male prostitutes, cross-dressers, and sexual relationships with boys as young as 16. In his defense, Wilde declared, "The love that dare not speak its name in this century is such a great affection as there was between David and Jonathan, such as Plato made the very basis of his philosophy, and such as you find in the sonnets of Michelangelo and Shakespeare. It is intellectual, and it repeatedly exists between an elder and a younger man, when the elder man has intellect, and the younger man has all the joy, hope, and glamour of life before him." Wilde was sentenced to 2 years of hard labor. As the police escorted him to prison, crowds gathered to jeer and spit at him. Because Oscar Wilde was gay, modern critics often describe him as a persecuted leftist, an avant-garde progressive, ahead of his time. But just because someone's gay doesn't mean they're left-wing. In fact, as Camille Paglia observed, gay men have historically been very elitist. Quote, "I notice that the Wildean-style homosexual still speaks of race and class with the same breezy daring. Lesbians do not talk this way. On the contrary, lesbians, in my experience, are intensely populist." End quote. According to Paglia, gay men, by contrast, quote, "have an instinct for hierarchy unparalleled in contemporary culture outside of Roman Catholicism." A great example of this sort of aristocratic homosexuality is Willem Dafoe's character in The Boondock Saints, which, if you haven't seen it, is literally the most base movie of all time. It's about these two Irish Catholic brothers who go on a killing spree enacting vigilante justice, killing all the criminals. But Willem Dafoe's character perfectly exemplifies this sort of aristocratic, elitist homosexuality.
Why don't you get me a cup of coffee?
Who the hell is it?
Cafe latte.
What the
Twist
fuck?
of lemon.
Chief, what the fuck is this?
Sweet and low. They're angels.
Oh, really? I might just be wanting a bagel with my coffee.
But it's okay with me if your friends sleep over.
It was a fucking ambush.
Nothing, fuck! Who the fuck are they? I've never seen any fucking thing like this in my fucking life!
It's no coincidence that the highest points in Western culture have all been connected with a high rate of homosexuality. Classical Athens, Renaissance Florence, upper-class London. As Paglia writes, male homosexuality may be the most valorous of attempts to evade the femme fatale and to defeat nature. By turning away from the Medusan mother, whether in honor or detestation of her, the male homosexual is one of the great forgers of absolutist Western identity. Oscar Wilde was not a liberal, as his modern fans like to think. He was a cold, late romantic elitist. His philosophy was decadent, aristocratic, amoral, and cruel. He did not believe in morality. He did not care about kindness or generosity or virtue. He only cared about beauty. Oscar Wilde believed that a beautiful person had absolute carte blanche to commit any act. His magnum opus was a novel called The Portrait of Dorian Gray. Dorian Gray is a beautiful young boy, an Apollonian aristocrat with golden hair and shining, almost feminine prettiness. Everyone in the novel, man or woman, is in love with Dorian. His crisp golden hair and Greek name represent the Aryan absolutism of Apollo, of the golden sun. His very existence is a cruel kick at everything ugly, sickly, and deformed. The cult of youth, the cult of beauty, is native to all aristocratic cultures, but it found its most sublime expression in the Greeks. The Greeks were all eugenicists. They learned genetics by breeding horses, trying to create the fastest, strongest, and most beautiful stallion. They applied that knowledge to breeding humans, trying to create the kalos ka agathos, the beautiful and good. Plato wrote about this. Read The Republic. It's a huge program of eugenics. In our modern Christian world, beautiful and good are two distinct concepts. A beautiful woman may be an evil seductress, while an ugly woman may be pious and holy. For the Greeks, however, beauty and goodness were almost synonyms. In the Odyssey, when Odysseus bludgeons the lame, hunchback peasant Thersites, everyone laughs. The Christian idea of ministering to lepers and cripples would be unthinkable to the ancient Greeks. In Christianity, physical beauty is often scorned as a temporary illusion. At best, beautiful young boys are vain and silly. At worst, they are seductive agents of Satan. What really matters is inner beauty, virtue, piety, and self-control. But Oscar Wilde was a connoisseur, an aesthete. He believed that beauty was the purpose of life, infinitely more important than goodness, kindness, or morality. As he wrote in The Critic as Artist, aesthetics are higher than ethics. Lord Henry, one of the older men obsessed with Dorian, calls beauty, quote, a form of genius, one of the great facts of the world, like sunlight, another reference to Apollo. He even says that beauty cannot be questioned. It has its divine right of sovereignty. It makes princes of those who have it. Dorian Gray is incredibly narcissistic. According to Camille Paglia, solipsistic self-obsession is essential to the pagan Apollonian hero. Quote, the narcissistic beautiful boy is emotionally undeveloped and self-contained to the point of autism. In decadent romantic terms, his serene indifference to the suffering of others is perfectly justified. Oscar Wilde once wrote that, quote, wickedness is a myth invented by good people to account for the curious attractiveness of others. There is a strange, overpowering charisma about cruel and narcissistic people, like Patrick Bateman or that blonde chick from Mean Girls. For Oscar Wilde, beautiful people are the aristoi, the best. They have an innate right to rule. The ugly belong to a lower order of being. They are Aristotle's natural slaves. As Wilde once remarked, I consider ugliness a kind of malady, and illness and suffering always inspire me with revulsion. Pagan youths dancing around a maypole, dolphins in the sunlit sea, wild choreos galloping through the Eurasian steppes. This is life, this is beauty. The ugly will always resent youth, calling it frivolous and vapid, but in their hearts they would kill to be young again. Joan of Arc died at 19, Christ at 33. How could it be any other way? In ancient Greece, the beautiful boy remained forever beautiful by dying young, preserving his beauty in a last great ritual of blood and eroticism like Mishima. Mishima was a masochist, and he died a masochistic death. That is the only fitting end for the Apollonian youth.
The average age for men in the Bronze Age was 18. In the Roman era, 22. Heaven must have been beautiful then. Today it must look dreadful. When a man reaches 40, he has no chance to die beautifully. No matter how he tries, he will die of decay. He must compel himself to live.
But Dorian Gray found a way to escape this, to neither die nor grow old. He preserved his eternal beauty in a gesture of Faustian defiance to Mother Nature, who is both growth and decay, the terrible Ouroboros of time. Oscar Wilde was intensely elitist. He admired, quote, the great aristocratic art of doing absolutely nothing. He once declared that cultivated leisure was the aim of man. As the ultimate adversary of the Puritan work ethic, he sneered, work is the curse of the drinking classes. In 1891, Wilde wrote an essay called The Soul of Man Under Socialism, advocating for a utopian world in which work and labor would be abolished. But if you read the essay, it doesn't sound at all like Marx or Lenin. While most socialists are deeply collectivistic, telling mankind to live for the herd, Wilde believed that man should live only for himself, for his own artistic vision. He wanted socialism not because he wanted to help the poor or whatever, but because he didn't want to work. He preferred aristocratic leisure, art, and literature. Indeed, Oscar Wilde despised charity, saying that, quote, charity degrades and demoralizes. Charity creates a multitude of sin. Charity and welfare do not cure the disease, they merely prolong it. They try to solve the problem of poverty, for instance, by keeping the poor alive. But this is not the solution." End quote. Oscar Wilde may have called himself a socialist, but his values were deeply aristocratic, and any communist country would have him executed as a reactionary. Aristocratic 19th century elegance held that all speech should be witty. In Oscar Wilde's novels, all the dialogue is dry, ironic, understated, and delivered with such lazy self-assurance that you almost believe it, even when they're saying patently ridiculous things. Lord Henry will be like, "I hate interesting people. They're so frightfully dull." And I'm just like, so true, King. The Importance of Being Earnest opens with Algernon playing the piano, and he says, "I don't play accurately. Anybody can play accurately, but I play with wonderful expression." Anybody can play accurately. That is patently false. But by saying it, Algernon elevates himself to a state of aesthetic sensibility, far above the teeming masses who care about petty things like hitting the right notes. Oscar Wilde gets this from Lewis Carroll, the author of Alice in Wonderland. The key is to blend absolute absurdity with dry self-assurance. In Carroll's stories, all sorts of absurd and nonsensical things happen all the time. Dancing teapots, giant rabbits, singing flowers, but they all exist within the world of aristocratic British manners. The Red Queen says utterly insane things, but in such a formal British way that she sounds like a Jane Austen character. The most Oscar Wilde thing that Carroll ever wrote was Hints for Etiquette, or Dining Out Made Easy. His advice includes, in proceeding to the dining room, the gentleman gives one arm to the lady he escorts. It is unusual to offer both. Or, as a general rule, do not kick the shins of the opposite gentleman under the table. Your pleasantry is liable to be misunderstood. Both Oscar Wilde and Lewis Carroll find humor in the absurdity of aristocratic manners. However, we should be careful not to read this as a rejection of aristocratic manners. Modern liberals try to paint Wilde and Carroll as rebellious hippies, as bohemian iconoclasts who wanted to overthrow aristocratic norms because it's all just arbitrary, bro. But just because you make fun of something doesn't mean you're against it. I make fun of my brothers all the time, but that doesn't mean I hate them. It means I love them. I find their quirks and silly habits endearing. When I read The Importance of Being Earnest, I don't see a bitter mockery of aristocratic culture. I see an endearing, tongue-in-cheek tribute to a culture that Oscar Wilde was very much a part of. In their personal habits, both Wilde and Carroll were deeply aristocratic, following the rules of British civility to a T. As Camille Paglia writes, in a century of middle-class values, to which even the Queen subscribed, Wilde reaffirmed aristocratic virtue. The Importance of Being Earnest is a reactionary political poem that makes aristocratic style the supreme embodiment of life as art. That is the philosophy of Oscar Wilde. When Oscar was finally released from prison, he was weak and sickly, but the physical world no longer concerned him. He immediately wrote a letter to the Jesuits asking to attend a 6-month Catholic retreat. When the Jesuits denied his request, Oscar wept. Oscar Wilde spent his last few years living in exile in Paris. At one point, he told his friend about a terrible nightmare in which he died and sank down to hell and was having a feast with all the ghosts. His friend replied, "Well, I'm sure you were the life of the party." Shortly before he died, Oscar Wilde told a journalist that, quote, "I intend to be received into the Catholic Church before long." He was baptized on his deathbed. God rest his soul. These are exciting times. The channel is growing. People are waking up. The masses are becoming Arthur Greenwood pilled. But we still have a long way to go. My last channel was demonetized, and they might do the exact same thing to this one. So, if you like what I do and you want to help me out, if you want to help my channel grow, there are 4 things you can do. 1. Leave a comment. Just say anything, literally anything, and that will be a huge help for the algorithm. 2. Send the video to a friend. I know you have some normie friend who needs to hear this. 4, most importantly, consider joining my Patreon. You'll get access to the Arthur Greenwood archive where you can watch my really controversial videos that I can't put on YouTube, including my really old videos from when I was like a democratic Vaushite socialist. There's even the hour-long debate I had about anarcho-capitalism. You'll also get to join our members-only Discord server where you can talk with me and the boys about life and politics and history. It's a great time. We have weekly phone calls, and I have genuinely become really good friends with some of the guys in the server. Because we have to stick together, you know? It's rough out there. We need networks of highly disciplined, highly intelligent men. If you want to join my network, all it costs is $1 a month. That adds up to $12 a year, which is nothing. That's less than an hour of work. And in exchange, you get to be my friend forever.